Kia ora and welcome along to the Met Service National Forecast for Wednesday, a wet Wednesday in Wellington this morning. You can see on these satellite pictures this band of cloud draped across those central parts of the country, bringing in some heavy rainfall in towards Wellington, the Wairarapa, in towards parts of the Kapiti coast, and also some heavy rain perhaps towards, let's say, Mount Taranaki as well. So there are some watches and warnings in place for the rest of this afternoon for Wednesday, even through in towards Thursday as well. You can see on these charts that rain doesn't move very far away. It kind of drapes across those southern parts of the Northland and it stays firmly in place as we go through towards the end of the day. It will clear away from the capital just a touch, but for places like the Kapiti coast, we are looking at some heavy rainfall, 70 to 100 millimetres of rainfall, not out of the question as we head through towards those early hours of Thursday morning. To the north of that, we'll still keep hold of a fair bit of cloud and some showers up towards those more northern parts, while down to the south, it's some clearer skies and some more settled conditions across the South Island. As we head through in towards the night time tonight, you'll notice the front weakens. It's being pulled away as this low pressure runs down towards the south and the east. Still rather cloudy across those central parts, and we are going to find still some showers with us as we head through in towards the early hours of Thursday. For the North Line, generally keeping a fair bit of cloud, perhaps an odd shower up towards the more northern parts of Northland, but most spots I think will be dry, although rather cloudy as we head through the night time. Some clearer skies though on that eastern coast. Down south, high pressure looks like things are fairly settled across the likes of, say, the South Island. But we are going to find a difference either side of that front. So to the north of that, we're still in a fairly warm air mass, and you'll notice our nighttime temperatures as we head through towards the early hours of Thursday, around about, high teens or thereabouts. So really very mild, very muggy night across the North Island. On the other side of that front, beneath the front and the south side, a much cooler feeling day there. So a cooler night and a cooler start to Thursday. For Thursday, we're going to keep a close eye on that front as it drapes across the central parts, moves a little bit further south on towards the top of the South Island by the end of the day. And you'll notice out towards the Tasman Sea, another area of low pressure pushing it back towards us. Could well bring some much more unsettled, windier and wetter weather as we head through towards Friday. So definitely a forecast to keep up to date with. But if we look in towards tomorrow for Thursday across the North Island, we've got this wet weather across Wellington to start with and down towards the Kapiti coast, and I think a fair bit of cloud and some showers, most of them north of Wellington City, but I think for the likes of, say, Manawatu and Kapiti coast, some showery start. Elsewhere, we'll find a few showers in towards perhaps, say, the Bay of Plenty and up in towards the northern parts of Northland. Very isolated. We might catch an odd isolated shower about some of the higher ranges inland as well, and just a touch more cloud in through the Bay of Plenty. On that eastern coast, for the likes of Hawke's Bay and Gisborne, fine, dry and a fairly settled looking Thursday for you. In terms of our temperatures, with that mild air still over us, we're still looking at highs up into the 20s quite nicely. Highs there 23 degrees Celsius up through Northland, Auckland, 22 degrees Celsius for you. While down towards the south, a touch more cloud and a bit of cooler air for Wellington, 18 degrees Celsius. But still, look at those nighttime temperatures in towards the early hours of Friday, still up into the teens across the patch. So a very mild night yet again as we head in towards Friday. For the South Island, we'll find the front stays to the north, so generally it's a clear start today across the likes of, say, Canterbury down towards Otago and even up in towards Marlborough and Nelson. As we head through the morning time, that cloud sinks southwards. We'll find some wetter weather moving back in towards the likes of Nelson and down that western coast. Generally a dry story down through Canterbury and Otago. A touch more cloud just being pushed on towards the coast, a place like Oamaru and in towards Dunedin. Might find the cloud thickening up later in the day, but generally it's a dry story, apart from this wet weather starting to feed on towards the western coast. So something to watch out for there. But for many spots, a dry, fine looking day. A little bit on the cooler side compared to our friends up on the North Island, but generally I think not a bad story. Highs up to around about, say, 17 or 18 degrees Celsius there for Christchurch, and our nighttime lows not far off, we'll see overnight tonight back to single figures. As we head in towards Friday, though, we are going to keep an eye on that area of wet weather moving back in from the Tasman Sea. Wrapping around that, some stronger winds as well. At the moment, the heaviest rain looks to be like sort of, say, Westland, Nelson, Buller. So we have got some severe weather watches out for those areas for that heavy rainfall as we head through Thursday night into Friday and also through in towards Saturday. So something to watch out for there. Up towards the north, we might find some stronger winds and perhaps some heavier showers later on in the period. So it's worth keeping an eye on the forecast, even if you're not on that western coast. Some wetter weather returning for a time as we head through in towards the weekend. Still with us first thing on Saturday. Higher pressure though, waiting to come back towards us for that second half of the weekend. But for now, do keep an eye on the forecast. There's some wet weather back for the end of the week. That's it from me. This is from metservice.com.